Beruchim Abayim. Welcome to a special edition of our Tuesday night class here at Ohel Simcha Congregation at Park Avenue. Tonight we're studying Perashat Ekev. Of course, the Perashah is filled with many lessons, but as the nature of this class is, we like to get a sampling to go through some highlights of the Perashah and maybe learn some practical lessons. One of the most practical lessons, certainly, that applies throughout the generations is alluded into a pasuk where God says, and I quote, "V'yada'taim levabecha," that you should come to the realization and know, "Ki ka'asher yiyaser ish et beno, Adonai Elohecha miyassereka," that just as a man, a father, afflicts his son, so too God afflicts his people. The subject of Yisurim, of affliction. It's not an easy subject by no means, especially the Ramban writes when you see many times righteous people suffer. Good people that you really can't understand why is this happening. But the Torah comes and says one thing's for certain, that Yisurim, affliction and difficulty and hardship, when God delivers it, it's as if a father is delivering it to his son. Now that's clear that a father, when he delivers a hit or a smack to his son, and again, we're not advocating now hitting your children. That's for another class. We're not advocating here violence. However, in Chinuch, there are some times where the parent does give the child a little hit. That hit is not only to punish him for what he did, but it's also to give him a lesson for the future. That don't continue in this path because it's bad, because it's wrong. When God afflicts, it's not always because of sin. It's not always because he's trying to say you have an avon. It's more like a father that's trying to tell his son, don't go there. That's a mistake. Comes out, according to this, that Yisurin, when God afflicts a person, it's actually God communicating to him. Rav Avram Grodzinski, Zecher Tzaddik Levracha, said, today we don't have prophecy. Today we don't have Ruach HaKodesh. So in what way do we communicate with God? It's not fair. In the time of the prophets, they wanted to know what God was saying, what he was thinking, what he wanted. You went to the Nabi talked to Hashem, you got an answer. In subsequent generations, you had an item that's called Ruach HaKodesh. It's also a manifestation of prophecy. But he says today, how do we know what God wants? So he says God talks to his people today through Yisurim, through affliction. He hits, and then you have to say, what does that mean? Why did he do that? What's the concept? Why did he make that happen? So if you can go to the right person, the right scholar, that can interpret why these things happen to you, then already you're getting a love tap, as we would say, from Borei Olam in order to guide. The Gemara says from the pasuk, Ki et asher ye'ahav Hashem yuchiyach. Only those that God endears and God loves, does he rebuke, does he give them Yisurim. It's like a father that has a beloved child, he hits him because he knows there's hope. But a child that's wayward, that went off the path, a child that's wild, that's doing it, the father says, what am I going to invest my energy? What am I going to waste my time with him? I'm going to rebuke her. Already I tried, doesn't listen, leave him alone. He's going to do what he wants to do anyway. So that's a sign of relinquishing his parenthood. It's not a good sign. So the child, he says, look, daddy hits you, he doesn't hit me. On the contrary, that's a sign that the father wants to abandon his child, nothing to do with him. So the Yisurim, when it comes to a person, is actually, and forgive me for saying it because it sounds cruel, but it's actually a compliment that Borei Olam is saying, you're still endeared to me, I'm still dealing with you, you're still on the list. And therefore, I'm going to hit you sometimes, I'm going to bless you also, but you're still considered my child. To the extent the Gemara said, when somebody goes 30 days with things going so smooth, you better be careful. You better be careful. Now the Gemara says that Yisurin don't have to be something major calamities. It could be the smallest inconvenience, like sticking your hand in your pocket for a quarter and taking out a dime instead. So you have to go reach back into your pocket again a second time. That's an inconvenience. Because in the perfect world, God could make it that every time you stick your hand in your pocket, you'll take out the exact change that you need. There's no coincidence. And God can make it that every time you open a book, a sefer, you'll open up to the page that you want. So the fact that you have to flick 3 pages back and then 2 forward until you find the page, that's God's way of inconveniencing you through a minor yisurin, but at least that shows you you're still on the, you're still a connection, you're still communication. So that's what it means when it says, "Ka'asher yasser ish et beno Hashem Elohechem yasereka." That being said, Rabotai, we must open up the Gemara Berachot Daf He, which is actually Masechet Yisurin. This page over here goes to the subject, and maybe we can analyze some points. Firstly, the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yitzhak, or actually Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Kol ha'osek b'Torah Yisurin bedelin hemenu. The Gemara says one way to ward off Yisurin is by studying Torah. What did he mean by that? How does Torah alleviate suffering? How does it ward it off? What is it, like a kamiyah? What is this business of studying Torah that takes away Yisurin? So I heard an explanation as follows. Everybody in life is going to get Yisurin. That's a fact. Fortunate is a person that gets his Yisurin through Torah. What does that mean? That means life is going to inconvenience you in one of a million ways. Torah and its adherence and its studying also inconveniences a person. So a person can get out of bed for one of 2 reasons. Either because he has a toothache that gets him out of bed, or because he's getting up to go to the class. Either way, he's going to have to get out of bed. So it says better to take your affliction in Torah. At least it's more enjoyable. There will be times, God forbid, where a person is sick, where he's not going to be able to eat. That has to happen. Fortunate is a person that misses a meal because he had to go to a class instead. Let that be the Yisuri. It's going to come either way. But if you can manage your life where you get your Yisurim in learning, so therefore you're ahead of the game. Because you got Torah and you paid the bill of Yisurim, you paid 10 cents to the dollar. It's filing bankruptcy on Yisurim. Because you made out good. Instead of getting the real bill that you had to pay, which would be much more difficult, you took it in Torah, whether it's loss of sleep, whether it's the social pressure of doing it. It's not so easy. It's not so accepted maybe to study Torah on a daily basis. Maybe it's affecting social. People want to go out for dinner. You have a class. There you go. Yisurin, it's affliction. But better to get the affliction socially, because you're studying Torah, than to get it a different way outside of Torah and save yourself from a lot of embarrassment socially outside the realm of Torah. That's what Ishtakish meant. Then the Gemara says another rule about Yisuri. Gemara says, and I think it's clear in the Gemara, because if you look further in the Gemara, it says, Kol she'efshar lo la'asok b'Torah ve'eno osek. In any way it doesn't study Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevi alav Yisurin mechoarim. He brings on him ugly Yisurin. What do you mean? Is there a difference between pretty Yisurin and ugly Yisurin? They're all ugly in our business, in our books. The explanation is, you're going to get Yisurin. If you study Torah, at least it's pretty Yisurin. But if you don't study Torah, it's Yisurin mechoarim. Then you get the ugly version, you get the undiluted version, you get the raw version of Yisurin as they're supposed to be. So studying Torah definitely is a blessing. It's not only a blessing for those that come to class, I mean, it's to the minute detail. Maybe over here in Deer we get a little spoiled that every synagogue has massive parking lots like Yankee Stadium. But in Brooklyn, we don't have that luxury of coming to synagogue and having a parking spot. We're lucky once in a while if we have a valet that comes and takes our car. The fact that you have to circle the synagogue 3-4 times, then park 3 blocks away, and then walk in the freezing cold, and it's raining, and that's Yisurin. So fortunate is again the lady that gets her Yisurin or his Yisurin in the realm of learning by that because you're going to get inconvenienced. You're going to get flat tires in life, and your car's going to break down, and you're going to have to walk. So fortunate, better pay the bill on the way to a class than having to pay it outside. That's a different example. Then the Gemara goes further and says, Amar Rabba ve'etima Rav Chesda v'an Gemara Berachot Daf He Im ro'eh adam she'yisurim ba'in alav. If a fellow sees that Yisurin are coming on him, what should he do? How does he stop it? So it says Yepashpesh b'ma'asav. Yepashpesh b'ma'asav means he has to make introspection. He has to check his ways. He has to see, what am I doing wrong? So the first assumption when you get Yisurin is that you did something wrong. We don't assume that these Yisurin are Yisurin shel ahava. What is Yisurin shel ahava? We don't know too many people that have reached this level, but there is a concept that if you're pure and clean, totally white, sometimes God afflicts you anyway, in order to escalate your reward in Olam Haba. Which means those people that are able to endure suffering, the suffering pays back fantastic dividends. It's not kapara, it's not to atone them for sin. These people have no sin. It's called Yisurin shel ahava, that God gives to His beloved ones, that He wants to give them bonus Olam Haba, so He afflicts them for nothing. For nothing but just to escalate His Olam Haba. Some rabbis, again, this is not recommended, don't try this at home, but some rabbis used to bring Yisurin on themselves. The Arizal used to roll in thorns. Every morning we'd go to the mikveh and come out of the mikveh, roll in thorns in order to torture himself. And Rav Chaim Vital, his student, said that after those rollings in the thorns, you could smell the fragrance of Gan Eden coming out of the rabbi's pores. Now again, on our level, to do such a thing would be sadistic. It would be cruel. It'd be, it's Bellevue material. So therefore, we're not going to self-inflict ourselves. However, some people do get Yisurin on that madriga. So the Gemara says, when somebody suffers, don't assume that it's Yisurin shel ahava. First check your record to make sure it's not for a certain sin. And then the Gemara says, Pishpesh velo matzah. You checked everything. Am I doing this wrong? Am I doing that wrong? You made your whole list, you didn't find anything. So then the Gemara says, now what do you do? He says, no. Yitle bitul Torah. Then you have to assume that you're getting it because you're not learning enough, or because you're wasting time from Torah. So that's the Gemara's level here. It starts off, make regular introspection. If you didn't find anything, then blame it on Bitul Torah. So in the Gemara Shi'ur this morning, we asked the obvious question. The question we asked was, how come you didn't find Bitul Torah the first time around? You're looking for things you're doing wrong. Pishpesh velo matzah. You didn't find anything, blame it on Bitul Torah. What do you mean? If you had Bitul Torah, you would have found it when you were looking for things. So how is it possible? How did you miss it? So he explained as follows. If a person made introspection and checked his lifestyle, even before he went to sleep at night. And he comes to the conclusion, Baruch Hashem, today, no averot. I didn't do anything wrong. If you ever come to that conclusion that you never did anything wrong, there's only one logical conclusion that we come to, is you're not learning enough. Because if you were learning enough, you'd realize that you're doing a lot of things wrong. But ignorance is bliss. A fellow that never learns Hilchot Shabbat, he's of course I'm Shomer Shabbat. The extent of Shemirat Shabbat in his book is he doesn't turn on lights, and he doesn't change channels. So finish. He thinks that's like that's the whole subject of Shabbat, and he eats 3-4 kibbeh. Now, what do you want from the guy? He does he's following everything. Shomer Shabbat Gilchata. And then he goes to one class and they start telling him the pits, the olives, mukseh, the watermelon, the good from the bed. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What religion is this over here? What are you talking about? This is borer. Shu borer. Where did this come from? Who made this up? When did they? Who is this? This is who made this up? This is what do you mean? There's 39 of these. Shemai said 39 of these. So you see, ignorance is bliss. So that if you made introspection and you came to the, I got nothing. I'm good. Bitul Torah. You're not learning enough, because the more you learn, you'll realize you have issues. Then the Gemara comes along and tells us a story. Gemara tells a story about Rav Hiya bar Abba. Gemara says like this: Rav Hiya bar Abba halash. He got sick. He got weak. Al legaber Rabbi Yohanan. So Rabbi Yohanan came to visit him. Achamim, they would visit each other. Amar le, so Rabbi Yohanan tells his colleague Rav Hiya, Habibin adecha yisurin? Are you enjoying the yisurin? Do you have a good time? Amar lo, he tells him, lo hen velo secharan. He says, no thank you. I'd rather not have the yisurin, and I'd not rather have the reward. Which means Rav Hiya assumed that these were yisurin shel ahava, that this was bonus yisurin. He's doing me a favor, I don't want them, I don't want the reward, pass, it's too difficult. Amar, he says, fine. Hav li yadach, he's giving me a hand. Yahav le yadeh, he gave him his hand, ve'ukmeh, and he healed him. You don't want them, you don't want them. Okay, give me a hand, take his hand, lift him up. Rabbi Yohanan halash. Gemara says Rabbi Yohanan got sick once. Al legaber of Hanina. So Rav Hanina came to visit him. Amar le, same story. Habibin alecha yisurin. Hakam, you enjoying the yisurin? He says, Amar le, lo hen velo secharan. Not them and not the reward. Pass. I'm out, I don't want them. So he says the same trick. Amar le, have the yadach, give me a hand. Ya'iv li yadeh ve'ukmeh. He gave his hand, abracadabra, being lifted him up, the yisurin went away. So the Gemara asks, Amai lokim Rabbi Yohanan the nefsheh? Yeah, Rabbi Yohanan, you knew this trick already. You just did it to Rav Hiya. So how come you didn't take yourself out? Say the magic words and get yourself out. What do you need Rav Hanina to come and pull you out of it? Amri, the Gemara answers, En chavush matir atzmo mebet ha'asurim. Somebody in prison can't take himself out. You need somebody else to take yourself out. You can release somebody from handcuffs, but if you yourself were in handcuffs, you need somebody else to take you out. So Rabbi Hanan, he took out of Hiya, but when he himself was in affliction, he needed somebody else to pull him out. So we said over today, in explanation to this Gemara, what does it mean when Rabbi Hiya was sick and Rabbi Hanan comes in and says, you enjoying the Yisurin? Give me your hand. What's this business? Give me your hand. Just tell him before Ashirema, what's this whole story with the hand? So we said like this. There's two types of Yisurin as we mentioned. Yisurin that come on the account of sin, and then Yisurin shel ahava. These rabbis held that what they were getting was Yisurin shel ahava. It wasn't because of sin. So the rabbi asked them, Habibin alecha Yisurin, are you enjoying these Yisurin? Which means he's asking him, what type of Yisurin are these? If the Yisurim that are coming to atone you from sin, of course you enjoy them. Beautiful. Who would enjoy them? Clean it now instead of having to pay later. But if the Yisurim shel ahava, if these are just freebies, so you have a right to complain. So he says, you enjoying them? What type of Yisurim is over? These the enjoyable ones? So he says, yeah, these are the enjoyable ones. Lo hen velo secharan. These are Yisurim shel ahava. I don't want it. I'm out. Let God take them back. There was a rabbi in recent history. He once came down with a tremendous sickness and things like that. So his students came to his Hakam. Why didn't you tell God what these rabbis told God? Lo hen velo secharan. I'll take it back. So he laughed. He said, I'll give you an example. He says there was a city that the governor was coming to visit. The mayor of the city, he said, the governor is going to come, he's going to check our prison system. We don't have anybody in jail. He's going to think we're delinquent. He's going to think that we have no enforcement. So we have to put some guy in jail just to show we're doing our job. So he went to the street, he saw the Abed sitting on the curb, drinking his beer, whatever he's doing, not bothering anybody. So they tell the Abed, come here, you want to go to jail? What do I go to jail? I don't want to go to jail. We'll give you $100, go sit in jail tonight. Beautiful. In fact, they bring the Abed, they put him in jail. They give him $100. The governor comes, goes to the jail, the Abed's sitting there, very good, you're punishing people, very nice. The next day, tells him, okay, get out of here. Okay, he goes back to the street, he's drinking. The following day, he mugs somebody. So now the police come to the Abed, they say, okay, come to jail. He says, lo hen velo secharan. No, you know what? Don't send me to jail, I keep the $100. So what $100? We're not giving you $100 now. Yesterday we gave you Yisrin Shel Ahava because we loved you, we gave you $100. Today we're punishing you because you're Rasha. We're not paying you for this, you have no options over here. So the rabbi told the student, he said in the olden days they were getting freebie Yisurim, they were getting it balash, and they could tell God, take it back. He said, we were getting Yisurim because we deserve it. We can't tell God, no, we don't want the reward. What reward? You're not getting reward here. This is to atone, to pay the balance of the bill. In any event, the rabbi said, we don't want. So Rabbi Yochanan tells him, give me your hand. What did he want with his hand? It's known that the rabbis of Kabbalah, the Arizal especially, was able to look at the hand of a person and he was able to tell exactly what averot the person made. It's called Chokhmat Hayad. It seems that the hand is very, very revealing. Therefore, be careful when you go to a Hakam, he says, give me your hand. He's looking at you, Shemai say, what are you going to see in his hand over there? If you ever see a rabbi washing his hands after he shook your hand, so you know what he's doing now. No, I'm just joking around, that doesn't happen. In any event, you see over here, he says, give me your hand. I mean, he wanted to see, is this really Yisurin Shel Ahava or not? When he looked at his hand, he saw, it's clean. He says, you're right, it's Yisurin Shel Ahava. So he tells him, give me your hand, and he lifted him up, which means, the Zohar tells us, how many joints does a person have on his hand? Anybody? Very good. 14 is the right answer. Each finger has 3 joints, and the thumb has 2 joints. It's 14. It's the same gematria as the word yad. Yad equals, yud dal, it is 14. We call a hand a yad because it has 14 joints. Now, the rabbi took his right hand, which is 14, and he held the right hand of the sick man, which is also 14. 14 and 14 is 28. It's the same numerical value as the word kawach, chafhet, which means to give him strength. The rabbis use their right hands, which in Zohar represents mercy. The right hand is always mercy. Like we mentioned last time in the class, and we'll repeat it again, that the Zohar says when you clap, you're supposed to clap always the right hand on the left hand. Because the right hand is mercy and the left hand is judgment. You always want the right to be over the left. In any event, I said last time, and it's going to be true again tonight, that for most people that's going to be the highlight of tonight's class, the way to clap. In any event, so the rabbi took his right hand, which is chesed, with the other hand was kawah. So the Gemara said, Rabbi Yochanan, how come you didn't take yourself out? He says he couldn't. Because what, he's going to hold his left hand? The left hand is judgment. He needed somebody else's right hand, which is chesed, in order to pull him out, in order to get the 28 joints, which equals kawach, to give him strength. That's the depth of this Gemara. And maybe that's what it means later on in the Gemara. When Rabbi Yohanan was dying, the Gemara Daf Chafchet says that his students came to visit him. And Rabbi Yohanan was crying. And they told Rabbi Yohanan, Ner Yisrael, Amud Aymani, Patisha Hazak, B'penei Ma'ata Bocheh. They praised the rabbi, they said, the light of Israel, the right column, the strong hammer. What are you crying for? What are these accolades that they gave him? Ner Yisrael means he's the light of Israel, meaning Torah scholar. Patisha Hazak means he's the strong hammer, meaning his halacha was unyielding. When he gave a ruling, it was like Yekov Adin et Tahar. He wasn't afraid of anybody. His rulings would shatter mountains, which means the law is the law. He wasn't scared of anybody. Patisha Hazak, he was like a strong hammer that bangs on the anvil without any mercy. But he was also called Amud Aymani. He was the right column, which means he was also Amud Shel Chesed. Yamin means Chesed. And we see that in that story that we just read. Using his right hand, he used to pick up sick people. So they told him, Yo Amud Aymani Hagam. Using your right hand, you used to bring up the sick people to make them better. What are you crying for? But there's another explanation why they called him Amud Aymani. If we're talking already about Rabbi Yohanan. They called him Amud Aymani because when one reads the Sefer Torah, there's two poles. You'll notice now, as we're getting to the end of the Sefer Torah, we're in Devarim already. Well, actually, when Simchat Torah comes around, when we get all the way to the end, you'll notice that the left pole is empty. There's no klaf on that side. But the right pole is very wide, and all the Sefer Torah is on the right side. So they called their rabbi Amud Aymani. They told him, you're the right pillar, which means in the Sefer Torah, the right side, after it's read, it's all the Torah's on that side, which means they were telling him, you're like the right pillar of the Sefer Torah. You have everything. All the Torah's in you. You're Amud Aymani. You have the whole Torah on the right side, like a Sefer Torah, which means you're brilliant. There's no reason for you to cry. Rabbi Yohanan, if we're talking about him already, there's a great lesson that we can learn from him. The Gemara says on this page, he suffered dearly with Yisurim. Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai buried 10 sons. And he used to walk around with a necklace around his neck of the tooth of his 10th son. The Mefashim explained his last son was burnt terribly, and that's all that remained was this tooth. And he used to hang it around his neck. And when he used to go and console people that were in mourning, he used to show them this necklace. And he would tell them, Den garma de Isra'a bir. He would tell them, it's not so bad what happened to you. This is the bone of my 10th child that I buried. Now, I tell you this because the Gemara relates another story. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Yohanan, he was very handsome. So handsome that one time there was the head of the mafia. At that time they called him Shimon ben Lakish. He was swimming in the ocean. And he saw from far a beautiful lady. And he said, I never saw a beautiful lady like this. So he jumped from one side of the ocean to the other. And all of a sudden he sees it's Rabbi Yohanan. He says, I thought you were a lady. That's how pretty he was. That's how handsome he was. So Rabbi Yohanan said, I have a sister that's more pretty than me. Make teshuvah, and you can marry her. On the spot, Shimon ben Lakish repented. He ended up becoming one of the greatest Tanaim, and he did marry the sister of Rabbi Yohanan. And he later became the study partner of Rabbi Yohanan. He became his Havruta. He went from being the head of the mob, Gemara says it. And then he ended up studying with Rish Lakish. And Rabbi Yohanan, And Rabbi Yohanan loved him. He was very challenging. Every time Rabbi Yohanan would say a statement, Rish Lakish would challenge it with 24 questions. Rabbi Yohanan loved it. So he had to sharpen himself and give an answer and back and forth and crystallize it. After Rish Lakish died, which is a story in itself how he died, Rabbi Yohanan was looking for another study partner. So they brought him somebody at the yeshiva. Everything that Rabbi Yohanan said, his study partner brought 24 proofs that he's right. Rabbi Yohanan said, I need you to tell me I'm right. I know I'm right. Well, I used to have a study partner that used to tell me that I'm wrong. And therefore I had to work, I had to prove. So they tried to get him another Havruta. Didn't work out. Rabotai. Rabbi Yohanan started to lose his mind because of this. He couldn't find somebody compatible with him to learn with. So he turned to God and made one of the most classic statements in all of Shas. And he said, O Havruta, O Metuta. Give me a Havruta, or give me death. And eventually Rabbi Yohanan died. Borei Olam as if did him a favor. He couldn't find somebody compatible. Now what amazes me about this Gemara, Rabbi Yohanan, you had 10 sons that died. That should have drove you insane. That should have made you crazy. That didn't bother you. That he accepted. That he lived with. That he was able to deal with. That he was able to console others. But when it came to losing a Havruta, when it came to losing a study partner, all of a sudden he couldn't function anymore. Rabbi Yohanan, what's worse? Losing your Havruta, losing 10 sons. Losing 10 sons, that's your Sunin Shilama, it's God's business. But I gotta learn. His learning was so serious to him that that's what ultimately took him out of his game. That's what ultimately took him out of his mind. To show how serious the learning was to these people. But your sons, Baba Havruta. It's not that it's cruel. He wasn't cruel. On the contrary, he understood this is Borei Olam's business, this is what he did. But this is already my spiritual existence now. When it comes to spiritual existence, he cannot have any patience, no tolerance. He needs to find the right guy. We're talking about Olam Haba now. His children, that was against it. That's what God wanted. But now what are we going to do about Havruta? He has to make every effort to find the right guy. That's what got him all confused to the extent that he had to pray for death. Death was sweeter than not being able to learn for Rabbi Yohanan. But there's one more Gemara that I'd like to show you tonight about Rabbi Yohanan. And it has to do with another pasuk in this week's parasha. Pasuk says, "V'hisir Adonai mimecha kol choli." Pasuk writes that God is going to remove from the Jewish people kol choli. Kol choli means all sorts of sicknesses. So the Gemara wants to know, what is kol choli? What is this type of sickness that it's talking about? Gemara says, Amar Rav zu Ayin Harah, referring to Ayin Harah. To many people, that's a chidush in itself. There's really an item called Ayin Harah. That's a legit item. I thought that's the grandmother's tales. You tell me there's a Gemara that's telling you that Rav was dealing with an Ayin Harah business. Not only did he deal with it, but he says he used to go to the cemeteries, Rav, and he was able to look at the coffin, and he was able to determine what killed him. And he said, 99 out of 100 people in this cemetery died of Ayin Harah. That was the statistics, how serious it is. So when the Torah comes in this week's Parashah and says, V'yesir Hashem mecha kol choli, God's going to take all disease away from you, that's a blessing that God will save you from the Ayin Harah. Now this stuff of Ayin Harah really needs to be analyzed, to be understood. You don't mind if you bring me a Chumash Bereshit in the interim when we continue. The Gemara in Berachot Daf Chaf tells a story about Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan avad agil dehava ka'azil v'yativ ha'sha'areh de'tebilah. Rabbi Yochanan used to sit in front of the mikveh, not the men's mikveh, the ladies' mikveh. It's a very interesting practice. Great Hacham has nothing better to do, and he sets up his chair at night, we're talking, when the ladies are coming out of the mikveh. Amar, and he gave a logic. He said, Ki salkan benot Yisrael ve'atyan metebilah, when the Jewish ladies, when they come out of the mikveh, mistaklan bi, they'll see me, v'neheve lehu zar'a de'shapireh kevati, and they'll have beautiful children that look like me. And Rabbi Hanan, as we said, was very handsome. So he said, we know that what a lady looks at when she comes out of the mikveh can affect the child, to the extent halakha says that if a lady sees a dog when she comes out of the mikveh, she must go back and dip again, because the image of the dog, which is tameh, can affect already the nature of the child. And that's why we have a custom in our mikvahot that a Jewish lady pulls them out of the mikveh, because halakha says if a Jewish lady touches the lady that immersed already, it won't affect her what else she sees. Since the first thing she saw coming out of the mikveh was a Jewish lady, that's a good impression that will be in. But if she sees even a goy the first thing, or something that's tameh, halakha says she dips again. So Rabbi Yochanan had a good idea. So I'll sit right outside the mikveh. Instead of the lady seeing the Abed security guard when she comes out of the mikveh, she sees the Rabbi Yochanan is beautiful. He's very handsome. Now don't think that this is arrogance here, God forbid. Rabbi Yochanan is saying, now look at my beautiful face and my beautiful children. This is not a contradiction to humility, as we explained many times. Rabbi Yochanan indeed was handsome. So for him to say that he wasn't, that's lying. For Safra Alav Shalom to say that he wasn't rich, that's not humility. That's lying. That's sheker. Somebody that is blessed cannot deny his blessings. Rabbi Yochanan was humble enough to share it with others. He said, if my beauty that God gave me can help others, and I'll sit in front of the mikveh, let the ladies look at me, and that impression is in their mind, and it can bring beautiful children into Am Yisrael, it's my pleasure. So it is his humility that brought him to do this. Another person said, well, I have time to do this for? What's my business now to sit in front of the mikveh? To help them, God gave him a gift, he shared it. The only problem was, Amru le Rabbanan, Hachamim came to some Hacham, Lo ka mistafe mor me'ina bisha. You're not scared from Ayin Harah? I mean, all the ladies are looking at him, wow, handsome, beautiful, they're all putting the ayin on him. He was sitting there, God forbid, not to look at the ladies. He says, Rabbi Yochanan had very long eyebrows. He says, when he wanted to look, one of the students used to have to lift his eyebrows in order that he could see. So, he wasn't looking at them, they were looking at him, but they said, they're going to put the Ayin Harah on your Hakam. So what does he answer? He says, Ana mizarad Yosef ka'atena. De la shalta be'ina bisha. So I have nothing to worry about. I come from the tribe of Yosef. Yosef's tribe is immune from Ayin Harah. And the Gemara brings a proof to that. Yaakov calls Yosef Aleh Ayin. The Gemara says it's Oleh Ayin, they're above the eye. Yaakov blesses Yosef that he should be like fish. Fish, no one can see fish because they're concealed. There's no Ayin Harah on fish. That's why there's so many of them. The fish are able to multiply like wild. Why? Because nobody can see it, so they're not going to put the Ayin Harah on them. So therefore they're free, they can multiply, they can do it. So it's v'yidgu. You should be like fish. So Yosef was that nature. So Rabbi Harah, I got nothing to worry about. I come from the tribe of Yosef. I'm covered. Ayin Harah can't touch me. What does that mean? And if you don't come from the tribe of Yosef, so you're out, there's no shot. And who knows, did Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai really come from the tribe of Yosef? Maybe he came from the tribe of Yehuda, he was the Nasi. So what is this story with Yosef and the Ayin Harah? What does it mean, and how do you protect yourself from it? So I'll tell you what the Mekubalim say. The Mekubalim say as follows. When somebody sees somebody else's wealth or somebody else's property and he's amazed by it, he says, wow, look at this guy's money. There's really nothing you should be amazed by because God gave him that blessing. What are you shocked that God's able to give somebody $1 million? God owns the whole world. Is there anything God's limited? You see a guy has $1 zillion. God gave him the money. But God, the whole world is property of God. He owns the whole world. So what should shock you if you see somebody that has something that's very, very extravagant, or something that's very expensive, or something very big? What Olam gave it to him? It's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket compared to God's wealth. So nothing really in life, if you think it's with the right attitude, everything is from God, nothing really should impress you. But if it does impress us, what we did is we detached that property from God. Now it can become vulnerable to Ayin Harah. Again, I explain it to you. When we look at somebody else's wealth and somebody else's success, and we say, wow, it's unbelievable, look what he did. So now already you're giving that person the credit. It's as if you're taking a scissors and you're cutting the string that God is attached to it. So now already God is removed from that item, from the eye. The eye burns that connection. You're giving him the credit. You're not giving God. So now it's vulnerable. Leave it. Leave it. Now that it's vulnerable, the Ayin Harah can attack. So how do you ward that off? How do you get that away? So you have to reattach it. You have to reconnect. How do you reconnect? When somebody comes along and tells you, wow, what a beautiful car. You just cut. So the answer you have to say back is, Hasdeh Hashem. Bingo, you just connected back. God is good to me. Shtabach Shemo. Baruch Hashem. Once you say that word, you can't get touched. So long as you keep on remembering it's not you. Once you think it's you, and it's your success, you're finished. Ayin Harah can take over. It can be destroyed because you're on your own. As the Pasuk says in this week's Parashah, you forgive me, I go back for a minute. It says that a person is going to make a lot of money. Pentochal v'sabarta, you'll be satiated. Batim tovim tivnei, you'll build beautiful homes. Homes, plural. Upkarecha v'sonecha yirbeyun, your wealth will multiply. Kesef, zahav, v'chol ashelecha yirbeh. V'ram v'babecha v'shachachta et Hashem. Once you forget that it's God, then already you're in trouble. V'amarta b'babecha, you're going to say, kochi ve'otzim yadi. It's me. Look what I did. Look what I amassed. Torah says, be careful. If you want to protect it, v'zacharta et Hashem Elohecha. You must remember that it's God. So long as you remember that it's God, it's unzappable from the Ayin Harah. Yosef HaSaddiq mastered this trait. I'll prove it to you. You remember Paro had the dreams? So Paro has the dreams. Nobody can interpret it the right way. They're giving him interpretations, but he doesn't like them. So the butler says, there's a guy in jail, Na'ar, Eved, Ivri. He's good at interpreting dreams. Let's bring him to the palace here. Maybe he'll help you out. Paro says, good idea, bring him out. Yosef comes out. Now, before Paro is going to listen to this Yosef, this Jew's interpretation, he wants to test him out. He wants to see if he knows anything. If he knows something about Ayin Harah. So he tried to put the Ayin Harah on. He tells Yosef, Halom halamti hu foter enoto. Says Yosef, I had a dream. None of these guys can interpret it. Hu foter enoto is the biggest hachamim in the world. None of these guys have an interpretation. Va'ani shamati alecha. Oh, I heard about you. Tishma halom leftor oto mafi mitlak. I heard you can hear dreams. Yeah, none of these guys, these are all fools. Khartoumim, Mechashevim, nothing. You're the guy. He's telling him, Khams alek. He gave him the Ayin Harah right there. Now, if Yosef is like everybody else, he'd say, of course. What are you talking about? Did you hear what I did with the son of Mashkim? I was on the money. They hung the other guy. They brought him back. Long shot. I called it. What does he answer? Now listen to this. To show you the greatness of Yosef. These are the first words he's going to tell the king now. He didn't open his mouth yet to the king. He's just standing there, Paro showering him with praises. Now a normal person, Derech Eresh, you say thank you. You don't want to even say the wrong thing. He's the king. He might kill you. You're in jail, by the way. So if you say the wrong word, they're right back into the dungeon. So the Derech Eresh would say, play it safe, don't even say nothing, thank you. Vayan Yosef et Paro lemor bil'adai. Not only doesn't he say thank you, but he contradicts him. He says, Paro, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not me. Bil'adai, it is not I. Elohim ya'aned shalom Paro. Touche. Which means he's telling him, Shah, you think you're going to give me the Ayin Harah? You think you want to build me up, compliment me? He answers back, Elohim is about God. Paro's impressed. Paro says, you can't get this. He's smart. So he tells him the whole dream. At the end of the dream, he wants to zap him again. He says, maybe that was a fluke. So after he tells him the dream, he says, Va'omare lahartumim. So I asked these guys, Ve'en magidli. Again, they can't tell me the answer. He's building him up again. And then he comes along and says, the interpretation, Hu adabar asher dibarti el paro asher ha'elohim oser al paro. And he goes along, and every pasuk in the interpretation, he mentions God's name. Vayomer paro el avadav. Acharei odia Elohim otecha et kol zot en navon ve'acham kamocha. He says, unbelievable. You always mention God. You didn't take credit for yourself. I came to the conclusion there is no smart man in this country like you. When Rabbi Yochanan says, I come from the Zera of Yosef, means I'm a student of Yosef. When they compliment me, how beautiful, it's a gift from God. I learned from Yosef, and the Gemara says, anybody that teaches their friend's son Torah, it's as if they gave birth to him. If you teach somebody else Torah, you become his father. So Rabbi Yochanan says, I come from the Zera of Yosef, meaning I'm a student of Yosef. It's like I come from his tribe because I learned from his ways. I cannot get Ayin Harah. I'm immune. And where did Yosef know this trick from? Yosef knew it from his father. You remember Yaakov Abinu met with Esav. Esav sends 400 men. Why did he send 400 men? So the Mefarshim say that he also tried to put an Ayin Harah on him with the 400 men. And then he sees Yaakov and he tells him, he saw you had a lot of children. He saw you had a lot of beracha. So he tells him the following. After he kisses him and tries to get him, Vayaret hanashim v'tayladim, vayomed mi ele lach. He says, oh, I see you doing good. You have all this money, all this family. What are these things that belong to you? Ayin Harah, right on. Now, if Yaakov answers, Baruch Hashem, without the Baruch Hashem. If he answers, of course, what are you talking about? I worked 22 years by Lavan's house. You think this came easy? What does he answer? Vayomar hayladim asher hanan Elohim et avdecha. Bingo. He cut, Yaakov attaches it right back. God, you can't touch me, I said. That's what Rabbi Hanan was saying. And that's the lesson of Ayin. You have nothing to fear. You don't have to wear the 5, you don't have to wear the fish, you don't have to paint your ceiling blue, you don't have to do all the mystical items. I'm not saying that they hurt, but it's not necessary. All those items are superfluous. We're giving you tonight the root. So long as you know how to take a compliment, you'll never have a problem. But never slip. That's why you have to always train your tongue to say, Baruch Hashem, Yishtabach Shemo, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, Todah La'el, Hasdeh Hashem. Always keep those phrases and you can never go wrong. So tonight, Rabotai, besides learning 2 important subjects, the subject of Yisurin, affliction, and the subject of Ayin Harah, we were able to get a little taste, a little feeling of one of the greatest Hachamim in our history, Rabbi Yohanan. We read about Rabbi Yohanan, how he sat in front of the mikveh. We read about Rabbi Yohanan, how he endured the Yisurin of his 10 children. We read about his Havrutah Lakish. We read about his opinions when it came to Yisurin, how he's Amud Aymani, how he was able to heal people with his right hand and cure them from their sickness. Be'ezat Hashem, Yohanan and the zechut that we talked about him tonight should be a meritz yosher for all of us. We should go in front of Borei and say, look at these good people in a resort town in the summer, coming out of their homes 10 o'clock at night just to learn Torah. It's unprecedented. Shrechem v'shechem kechem will be a meritz yosher for all of us to bring us only beracha, tzlachah, parnasah, b'riyut. Amen.